I left my safe job after 7 years, and I went from working in the kitchen 40 hours a week with my hands full of burns and cuts to making $20,000 per month working from home with location freedom by just mastering one skill. No degree, no prior experience, and as you can tell, English not being my first language. So in this video, I want to break down how I made this transition and how you can do it too, no matter where you're starting from. But first, you need to understand why I decided to leave a safe job, because you might not have the same reasons that I had. And especially in my culture, like that's the goal, just having a safe job, just getting married, buy yourself a house, etc. But for me, that wasn't enough. It wasn't like an exciting goal. So the reality for me that was that even though I had a safe job, in reality, I was living in a nightmare. Like for me, it was hell because all I could see is number one, working 40 hours per week or more, like labor intensive, seeing my hands full of cuts and burns. And it was a lot. It's not because I was lazy and I didn't want to work, but I was like, there's got to be more than this. It's just like, okay, fine. I'm not going to die with this. I can survive, but I'm not here just to survive. That was the thing. I'm not here just to survive. And I remember going to work every single day and having this vivid image of this person that worked with us that was 60 years old, something like that. And he was always in the same spot. He would always have the same shift. And his job was to cut vegetables all day, like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, just cutting vegetables. And to me, that was like, that's all life is for. Like, am I going to just be here until I am 60 and that's going to be my life? Like, to me, it was literally terrifying. And one of the reasons why was not because I hate my job and I hated what I was doing despite being safe, but also because I had a big sense of self worth. Don't ask me why, but for maybe my upbringing or whatever, but for whatever reason, I always had this belief that I could do much more than working in the kitchen. I'm not saying that I had a belief of like, I am the chosen and I'm going to become the next billionaire. No. But what I know I had in my mind was I didn't come to this world just to be working in a kitchen. The other point as well was the fact that I realized it was a daily reminder for me that I was giving away the best years of my life and my best energy, my youth. I was just giving it away to build someone else's dreams. And that really pissed me off because it was like, this is the best time of my life. And I'm using it to build someone else's castle rather than to build my castle. And then once I am 40, 50, 60, then what? Do you know what I mean? So I got to a point, that I was like, I have to do something about it. Like I cannot just continue to go on this autopilot. I have to do something. That led me to this journey of entrepreneurship and really figuring out how people get out of the 9 to 5, how people become entrepreneurs, how people just build their own dreams, their own life, how people can live life on their terms, right? And that journey took a while. It's not that, in a 1 year I just got full clarity. It took a while, but I started to research, I started to do some moves, etc. And long story short, I got to a place where I came across remote closing, high ticket closing. And the biggest thing for me was the fact that with remote closing, you can truly learn just one skill and make 5 figures per month. That was the most attractive thing for me compared to what I was doing in the kitchen. It's like, wow, just one skill from home, talking to humans. I can do that. I can definitely do that. Yes, isn't English, is not my first language, but I can learn it. And that's why I oftentimes say, hey, if you live in America, like if you live in the US, you're watching this video, you speak English like natively, like come on, like you have an advantage. Like you are in a much more advantageous position than I was when I first got started into high ticket closing. But anyways, I look at the model and then I just did the math and I realized how if you are selling high ticket packages and you sell, for example, a 10K solution, or let's just put an 8K solution, $8,000 for a service, and you close that deal, which by the way, high ticket closers, you don't have to chase or sell people or sell people. Like people come to you because they're already interested. It's not rocket science. Like you don't need a degree. You don't need to be like a surgeon. It's a skill. So you're in that conversation. Let's say the service is $8,000. you close for you enrolling that client in an hour long meeting, you're gonna get at least minimum 10% commission, minimum. So that's $800 for 1 hour. When I was in the kitchen, I was making 1,000 euros per month for 40 hours a week. So when I started the full model, and was not only this, but I saw everything, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I gotta go all in with this. Also, as I was studying the model, I knew and I was following other successful remote closers. So I could see their lifestyle. I could see what they were doing. I could see how just with one skill, not having to run a traditional online business, they were making 10, 12, 15, 20, 30K per month, closing high ticket deals, which is crazy to me. And it still is the fact that you don't need to build a traditional online business to make 5 figures. We live in a world that is crazy. So all of these points, like, okay, other people are doing it. They don't have like crazy communication skills. Like they just went all in. I see myself doing this. I was like, let's do it. So what I did is previously I had invested in programs and whatnot, and I truly saw the value of investing in a mentor and just not having to make the mistakes, not having to figure it out. It just much faster. And especially because I was going into a market in English, I was like, yeah, there's no point in me trying to figure this out alone because it's a new language and I don't know anybody. I don't have any connection. So I invested in a mentor, high ticket, I paid, I believe it was 6K. And I trained myself for 3 months. And then I started working as a remote closer. One of my first clients was an Airbnb consulting company. And that's where I made my first high ticket sale, $9,800, closed the deal, and I made 900. At that point, I made 900 in commission. It was a little less than 10%. And to me, that was like, I can do this. It's like, boom, I can do this. Like, done, done. Like if I was all in, I was more all in. In that situation. So I just continued to develop myself, and then I found the company that really made my income took off. Because here's the thing with high ticket closing, you need to learn the skill, but you need to also align with the right company where you have the potential to achieve your goals. So it's not that you're the first company you're gonna work with, you're gonna make $20,000 per month. Okay, you're also figuring things out. So it took me like 2 or 3 offers, and then my fourth offer, I believe, like the fourth client, because with remote closing, you only need to work with one client. That fourth client really allowed me to make things take off. And in my first month, I made 5,000 euros with that client in commissions, working from home with my laptop, leveraging high ticket closing. Second month, I made 7,000 euros. The third month, I made another 7,000 euros. The fourth month, I made 8,000 euros. And then in my fifth month, I made 11,000 euros, 5 figures in a single month as a high ticket closer. Where in the past, I tried so many different ventures, and don't get me wrong, I got some results and whatnot, but not even close. Because like if you also think about it, a business owner that's making $10,000 per month or $20,000 per month is not profit, it's revenue. There's a lot of expenses. And then, it turns out that what they're taking home is 3K. So a business owner that is making 20K per month compared to a closer that's making 20K per month, the closer is taking 100% of profits here. It's 20K in profits. So that realization was huge for me because I was like, wow, these guys are actually smarter than me trying to figure out a traditional online business. And that's it. It's not like a crazy story of a massive amount of hardships you had to overcome or I had to overcome. No, like it is actually I went all in. I believe that's one of the keys. Like I decided to go all in. I didn't half asset. I didn't go half foot in. I was like, no, this is the thing. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put skin in the game. I'm gonna commit my time, my money into it. And I believe that's the biggest thing that separates the people that saw success along with me when I got started and the people that didn't. Because when you put yourself in a situation where you have to succeed, you succeed. When you put yourself in a situation where everything is on the line, not in a dramatic way, but you're like, I'm all in with this. I am going to make this work. I can do this, and I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it happen. You make it happen. You know what I mean? And of course, you doubt, and of course, there's fear and uncertainty and a lot of doubt during the journey. But your vision, your drive, the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, it needs to be higher than the doubts in your mind. Otherwise, the doubts are just gonna creep in and it's just gonna rule you. But it's totally doable, guys. And the best thing, like the big news, is that high ticket closing is right now booming, is in demand. The amount of people that ask me for closers right now, the amount of closers that ask me for closers right now is insane because there is few people that can do this fully committed and that can truly commit to learning the skill. There's a lot of people wanting to become a remote closer, but very few are truly committed. So if you're truly committed, you can do it. Like if I did it, I don't even speak English. Like, I mean, I speak English. I mean, I don't even have English as my first language, my native language. So imagine what's possible. The biggest thing that I can recommend you if you made it this long in the video is just start. Just start because at the end of the day, 5 years from now, you will regret more not having taken action than any action towards your goals that you took. Does that make sense? Because I took massive action from the moment I decided that I didn't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. I took massive action and a couple of years went by until I came across remote closing. And I am super grateful that my younger self decided to take that action because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Even though it took me a couple of years, I did all the things. Like one of the things that I decided to do was my first attempt to leave the 9 to 5 was to become a financial advisor. So I did a program to become a financial advisor for companies. And then 10 months into the program, I decided I didn't want to become a financial advisor. But that journey led me to the discovery of marketing and sales and the e-learning industry, right? So that was kind of like a step needed for me to continue my journey. So just start. The most important thing is to start to do something. And by start, I don't mean read a book or watch 10 hours of ideas on YouTube. I mean starting a path. If it's remote closing, if it's copywriting, if it's any high income skill, I recommend you to start with a high income skill. Much, much, much easier and safer. But just start. And if you want to know more about remote closing resonates with you, then I'm gonna put a video here that you can click and continue to watch there so you can research it. I'll see you there.